G'day, Professor Joseph Drew. Many of our politicians and some of our community, and certainly a lot of our media, seem to be very confused about the purpose of government. In this video, I will set the story straight. The overwhelming perception that you will get from our politicians, particularly our federal and state politicians, and certainly our media, and many people in the community, is that the purpose of government is to make you happy. Well, it's not. No one ever thought that was the purpose until we started into modern democracy, which is an exercise in mass egoism and vote buying. You see things like this. Penrith Stadium, the New South Wales state government's going to put $309 million into Penrith Stadium so that viewers and spectators can get better music and football experiences. Really? I'm assuming the music performers and the footballers, the NRL and whatnot, are charging for the experience. If they're charging from the experience and making a profit, why aren't they putting the money in there themselves? This is not a public good if it's restricted to people. It's nothing more than a vote buying exercise. At the same time, we have many councils, particularly in rural areas, that can't provide first world services, that can't provide running water, rubbish collection, sewage disposal, and bitumen. And yet, in the inner city areas where most of the votes are, we're getting football stadiums. Certainly the state government politicians involved in this seem to think that it's their job to make people happy. And if that is indeed their job, as I said in my recent book, we'll start building brothels and meth labs and all sorts of things, because that apparently will make people happy. It really does bother me that many of our senior public servants and many of our politicians don't seem to know what they're there for. No sensible philosopher ever argued that the purpose of government was to make people happy. And indeed, when you have to pay for all these things that you're providing, football stadiums and whatnot, and you have to front up to the community, it's usually someone else many years down the track, and say, oh, here's the bill for all those things to make you happy, the taxpayers become decidedly unhappy unless you're willing to continuously commit intergenerational inequity, which most of our seniors, state and federal politicians certainly seem to willing to commit. Unless you're willing to commit that into perpetuity and hope that you're out of game before the bills come due, you're not going to make people happy in the long run at all. Leviathan was a hypothesis that government had to set the rules and we'd have this social contract, and in exchange for freedoms and some liberties and some of our wealth, the government would be this fearsome monster that'd keep us all safe, because in the state of nature things were nasty, shortish and brute. Johannes Mesner, I think, powerfully argued that the purpose of government was to facilitate the cooperation of people, of associations, and including businesses. Tommaso de Aquino argued that the purpose of government was to instill virtue in the citizenry through laws and through example. And if that's the purpose of a government, most of our modern governments are very guilty of an abject failure. But no one argued the purpose of government was to make people happy. In my recent book, I took a leaf out of Plato, Socrates, and Tommaso de Aquino and said, indeed, the purpose of government is to set the conditions so that people might flourish. It's as simple as that. But instead, in our modern Western democracy, it's much more profitable not to think about the long-term flourishing of the human person, but to instead think about shiny, bright toys that we don't ask people to pay for until later, in order to carry out political acclaim and the acclaim of our media, who don't seem to put much thought into things. It's a very dangerous path that we've embarked on, and ultimately it'll result in an awful lot of unhappiness. Not sure why people ever thought government was there to make them happy. It's your responsibility to make yourself happy. But happiness, mere happiness, in the sense of J.S. Mill and others, it was never considered by anyone sensible to be a goal of human life, really. You're going to get to your end of your life and you're going to say, I had a happy life. Have it written on a tombstone, I had a happy life. Surely there's something more to life. But even if it was only happiness as a goal, surely that's your responsibility, not someone else's, not the next generation to pay for, not a politician. It's got to be your responsibility. The only person that can make you happy would be you. And if happiness is indeed the object of government, well, then they're doing a bloody lousy job. Half of our population, according to one statistic I looked at recently, was going to psychologists and getting antidepressants and all sorts of things. The suicide numbers are up dramatically, despite the fact that we've redefined suicide and we've got better medical interventions these days. So if that is their goal, they're pretty darn bad at it. Anyway, don't forget to subscribe. Let me know what you think. And thank you very much for your time. Goodbye.